Yes, and welcome to Vasily's Garden. Folks, we're in a little courtyard garden here with our fruit trees. And this area here's got 3 apple trees, 1 plum tree and 1 nectarine tree in the far corner that hasn't fruited. Now all the trees are fruiting prolifically now. We're standing in front of this dearest apple of mine and I need to cover it over. That we're at that stage. If not already, most of you should have covered them by now. I'm a bit behind schedule. These apples are a little bit large already and they may have been already hit by the dreaded codling moth. Are we looking at one there? See that little mark there? Okay. Now, allow me to get a tool. Just get my nail bug here. All right, I've just peeled off the back there. There could be apple scab that's developing on this. That's because of all the rain we've had. So even this blotching, that's from rain. All this black spot here developing on it, that is excessive rainfall. We've had a lot of that and I haven't sprayed this tree. And I might need to prune it. Actually, looking at it now, it might need to be thinned out a bit. This needs a bit of a spray. If this gets any worse, see all that blotching there? That's from all the rainfall and the veins in between the yellow in between the veins. Have a look at this one here. Right. Tree's still pretty healthy. I know that sounds crazy ironic me to say that, considering I've just complained about the black spot and all the veining, yellowing in the veins. Look at this here. We've got spots everywhere. Like that there. That can get worse. Actually, it can get worse. Looking at it from here, I'm going to let it go for a little bit longer. Let's go over the other one. We're talking about netting the tree, but before we go there, let's have a look at the other tree. Take these glasses off. That's better. This is a Granny Smith and it's doing tremendously well. I cut the guts out of the middle of it. Look at it. This was completely pruned out, air out the middle of it. And it's thickening out again. We have got apples everywhere. I'm not going to thin them out, as I don't do every year. I let them grow to its full capacity and they get about that size. You can get Granny Smiths, I know, they're about this big. They're like, you know, what do you call a softball, whatever, a baseball, which is even larger than that actually. But no, I like them small and they look pretty clean. But we need to protect it from codling moth because the dreaded codling moth is going to take a strong hold of my apples if I don't cover it. Now what we do, and for those who haven't seen this before, we do a few things. Ignore the black spot that's on there, you know, the mold that's developing on it, we'll deal with that. I'm going to finish off this segment discussing the other things that I do as far as protecting your tree from codling moth. Yes, regarding the black spot, because I hear you asking the question, how do we treat it? Bluestone copper sulfate disease control pack is the basic remedy. Now that you've got the fruit on the tree, it's quite safe to spray. Your fruit could have been covered over earlier. Now, I didn't cover it and I just remembered why. Because it's been bloody raining every day. Didn't need to. But now that we've got some sunshine and we're going to get up to 30 degrees this coming weekend, 30 and 30 and 29, more than likely all the pests will come out in full force looking for somewhere to feast, nest and, you know, reproduce and prolong their life. So we're going to cover this with netting over the top. And what you see here is I'm using concrete rods. These are 18mm concrete rods. You don't have to go this thick. You can go the 12mm. They're quite easily obtained at your local garden supplies. Drive them into the ground and a blue line or green line, and I refer to the colour on the pipe here. It's not your black poly pipe for irrigation, the 19mm. This is 25mm and 30mm you can get. That's a lot more rigid. See how it's holding itself up there at the top, whereas the smaller pipe, the 13mm, the black one you get at your local hardware store, they sell both sizes, by the way. If you get the smaller one, the one that you use for irrigation, that will collapse in the heat of the day. It'll actually belly out at the bottom there and fall back onto the tree. This will keep its rigid shape, and you should tape it up at the top. See it there? Pretend that's taped. Pretend that's taped. You didn't see that, did you? Did you see that? I need more tape on it. All right, so that's going to be retaped. And crossover, tape it over there as well so it doesn't fall apart. I'm only using masking tape at the moment. You can use gaffer tape if you like, duct tape, electrical tape, masking tape. That's what I use at the moment. This won't last as long, obviously. All it is just to keep them together so they don't slide across from one and the other. Keeps it a lot more rigid. Let's have a look. Yeah, beautiful, fantastic. See that? We're going to put some over here too. Not that it's going to go anywhere. You know why I say that? Because it can't go really down because there's taping away there. And another thing, if you've got a small diameter post here like this, or the concrete rod, and it's a large pipe and it's going to sit over the top and be too loose, wrap around a bit of tape there, put a bit of cardboard if you like, just to wedge it in it to stop it from sliding down. And that way it's nice and firm and rigid. Now the aim is to get the arch over the top of your tree and allow for some summer growth, because if you're not going to take it down before the summer growth comes on and you haven't got enough height on it, it's going to grow through the netting, and the last thing you want is having shoots coming through the netting, because you'll be ripping it all apart. So what we're going to do is actually prune this down a little bit, because we already got some new growth on it. So up we go again. These trees on average will put on almost a metre of growth. So this can, by the end of summer, will be up here somewhere, easily 300-400 past the top of this pipe. So at the moment, it's a little bit high for me. I don't want it to be any higher than that. I'm going to just trim that down a little bit. That's all I want to do, because it's only the tips. I'm not doing anything major to the tree. It's not going to hurt it. Just bringing it down a little bit. It may react automatically and start growing and saying, well, I defeated the purpose because I've triggered new growth on it. But we'll see in due course if that happens. For now, just giving myself a bit more clearance on the top there. And we're using the wildlife friendly bird netting. For those in Victoria, the rules are that you've got to use a netting that's got a smaller aperture, opening that is, than your typical netting that you've been using in the past. So the 15mm nettings are the old stuff that we used to use. If I can find the bottom of this, I can put my hand underneath it. This is going to be fun to untangle. Where is it? There we are. We've got sticks and all in here. Have a look at that, if you can see that better. See how small the openings are? That's 4.9mm diameter, or square, whatever you want to call that. So technically bees can't get in. Little mosquitoes and little tiny little insects can get in, but birds can't get tangled up. So it's all about protecting the wildlife while you protect your tree. Now you don't need to put this on while it's in flower, and it's too late to talk about that anyway, but if some of you installed this while your tree was in flower, high chance that you may not have fruit on it for the pollinating purpose, because it wasn't being able to be pollinated. You install it as soon as it sets fruit. I let it go for this much longer, and I'm recapping on earlier. It's because it's been raining so hard, and you can see the damage it's caused to this tree in particular. The other ones are nice and clean, looking at them. So just going to take these ones off a little bit, a little tip prune like that. Not going to hurt anyone, and it's going to save me having to worry about it getting tangled up. 4 tips to protect your apple tree from codling moth. Tip number 1, wrap some masking tape around the base of the trunk, then apply tree guard as a barrier. And that stops all the creepy crawlies getting up into your fruit and destroying it. Now, if you want to see how we did this, you can watch the previous video. We're going to leave a link in the description of this video. Tip number 2, install a codling moth trap. Hang it in your tree or to the side of the tree, so you get the actual egg-laying female moth going in there, which is a lure that attracts her to it, lands in there, can't get away, no more eggs. Now the codling moth larvae get inside the fruit. Now the moth comes along, lays her egg on top of there, and then when they hatch, they actually start to burrow inside the fruit and destroy it and cause it to start rotting out. Now you can eat the apple and the protein if you like, but if you don't like that, you can actually spray it. So tip number 3, CGWS spray, which is a spray that we use on our citrus trees to control citrus gall wasp. Our trials have shown that it's very, very effective in controlling the codling moth larvae from getting inside your fruit. So spray your trees. And tip number 4, net your tree. Now you can sit there and watch me trying to do this and have a laugh, or you can come over here and give me a hand. There are different sizes of wildlife bird netting that you can get, folks. They come in by the metre at 5 metres wide. They come 10 metres wide, and you can buy it by the metre, or you can get 10 by 10, 5 by 5 metre. This is a 10 by 10 piece that I've got here. It is huge for this tree. So the tree stands about 2.5 metres tall, probably about 3 metres round in diameter, and I've got 10 by 10 netting over the top. So if you want to try and work out how big a piece you need, a 5 by 5 is more than enough for one tree of this size. This is the leftover, so all this has got to get cut off, and somehow I've got to get it over the other trees. Ideally, in this scenario, I should build myself an enclosure, a complete enclosure in all corners, frame it up properly in the middle so that I can get up nice and high and then walk inside without having to worry about all this happening. But I'm using these square top pegs here, basically designed for flat finishes, so it doesn't actually cut into it. So it goes straight through the hole and sits nice and flat when you push it into the ground, like that there. Holds it really easy. Now this needs to be pegged quite extensively, because you'll find certain birds are very cunning and they'll find their way into it. It's still quite loose at the bottom here. So go there, and then, geez, they'll get through that. Smart as. I've seen them do it in the past. They'll sneak underneath these little openings. So pull it tight, like that. Push it down. And I reckon you'll have to peg it every 500 on average, like that there. You may want to put a piece of wood across the top of that too, if you like, a little plank, depending on how serious they are, or even just throw some mulch over it, for example, like this, just to hold it down. I've got to go back in there now. See here? It's already leaning on it. You may say, oh, that's nothing, but by the time it grows, it's going to be turning back in there, so I've got to take off at least 3 or 4 inches on that, just to make me happy. Otherwise, I'm going to be coming out here every second day looking at it and saying, why didn't I cut it? Why didn't I cut it? There we go. That's better. When you do install it, make sure you keep it nice and tight. Don't leave it just draped over the top there loosely. Any holes, tie them up. Use a little bit of string and tie them up together so you don't get the birds going in there. But more importantly, keep it nice and tight. I've got to cut that bit off there, but you will see in most areas it's pretty nice. Peter, you good boy. Good boy. Stop showing your backside. For now, don't you lick me? No. Good boy. All right, folks, time to net your trees if you haven't done so already. So important if you want to save your fruit. And if you've got apple trees and pear trees, codling moth is going to be out in drones taking over our fruit trees. So get onto the sprays, the guard, the traps and the netting. And for those in Victoria, the wildlife friendly bird netting is what you need to install. It's actually illegal to install the larger ones because of regulations. Look after your apple trees, look after your pear trees. In fact, look after your entire garden and take advantage of all the great specials that we've got on our website. Vasili'sGarden.com. The garden centre in Coburg is open today till Sunday, so Wednesdays till Sundays, and our end of spring run out sale ends at midnight, up to 75% off everything online, plus a bonus 10% off with the coupon code word Friday. So take advantage before it ends and have a wonderful day. From me, Vasili, Maresi.